The wealthy Mafia boss thought one night with a desperate hotel maid would silence the ghosts haunting his empty mansion, but he had no idea that saving her would cost him everything. When rival enemies discovered his one weakness, they didn't just threaten his empire, they targeted the innocent woman who had unknowingly healed his shattered heart. What started as a simple transaction became a deadly game of protection and sacrifice, where loving someone meant risking their life, and the only way to save her was to become the monster he'd spent years trying to forget. But some secrets run deeper than blood, and when the truth about his past finally surfaced, even love might not be enough to survive what's coming next. Subscribe and tell me where you're watching from, because this story of redemption and revenge is about to prove that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is fall in love. The clock on the hotel wall showed 12:47 a.m. Naomi Reed pulled another set of dirty sheets from the king-size bed, her back aching from 12 hours of cleaning rooms. The luxury hotel never slept, and neither did she. She folded the corner of a pillowcase and tried not to think about the envelope hidden in her shoe. The pharmacy bill for Nonna Alma's heart medicine was due tomorrow. $200 she didn't have. Reed, the sharp voice made her jump. Mr. Davidson, the night manager, stood in the doorway. His beady eyes looked her up and down like she was something he wanted to buy. "There's a special request," he said, stepping closer. "Private lounge, VIP guest wants, company." Naomi's stomach turned. She knew what he meant. "I'm a housekeeper, not, you want to keep your job." Davidson's smile was cold. "This guest pays well, very well, enough to cover whatever bills you've been hiding." Heat rushed to Naomi's cheeks. How did he know about the bills? "I won't," she said quietly. "Then clean out your locker." Davidson turned to leave. "Plenty of girls need work." Naomi's hands shook as she gripped the dirty sheet. Without this job, Nonna would have no medicine. No medicine meant. She couldn't finish the thought. Laughter drifted from the private lounge down the hall, rich people having fun while she fought to survive. The envelope in her shoe felt like it weighed 100 pounds. "Wait," she whispered. Davidson turned back, his grin wider. "Smart girl." Naomi pulled the crumpled notice from her shoe and stared at it. $200. Her grandmother's life, her dignity. She thought of Nonna Alma's gentle hands teaching her to fold paper cranes. "Sometimes we bend so we don't break, little bird," her grandmother always said. "I choose who," Naomi said firmly. "And I can leave if I want." Davidson shrugged. "Not my problem what you work out with him." Naomi straightened her uniform shirt and walked toward the lounge. Each step felt like walking underwater, but Nonna Alma needed her medicine. The private lounge was dimly lit, all dark wood and soft leather. Only one person sat at the far end, a man with his back to her, perfectly still. A glass of whiskey sat untouched on the table next to him. "Excuse me?" Naomi's voice came out smaller than she wanted. The man turned slowly. Dark hair, sharp jaw, eyes like winter sky. He looked tired in a way that went deeper than lack of sleep. Maybe mid-30s, wearing a black shirt that probably cost more than she made in a month. "You don't have to be here," he said. His voice was quiet, controlled. Naomi blinked. What? "Davidson sent you. It wasn't a question. You can leave." She stared at him. No grabbing hands, no dirty smile. Just sad, tired eyes watching her. "I need the money," she admitted. He nodded slowly. "What's your name?" "Naomi." "Luca." He gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit, please." She perched on the edge of the chair, ready to run. "I'm not going to hurt you," Luca said. "I just need company, someone to talk to. Nothing more, unless you choose it." Davidson said. "Davidson's a pig." Luca's jaw tightened. "I know what he told you. I'm offering something different." Naomi studied his face. The lines around his eyes spoke of pain, not cruelty. "Why me?" "Because you look like you understand loss." The words hit her chest like a physical blow. She did know loss. Her parents dead in a car crash when she was 22. Nonna Alma slowly fading from heart disease. Dreams of college, buried under medical bills and night shifts. "One night," Luca said quietly. "Your choice in everything. $500. Naomi's breath caught. 500 would cover the medicine and rent. "Just talking? Whatever you're comfortable with." He pulled a key card from his jacket. "Presidential suite. You can leave any time." She looked at the key card, then at his face. Something in his expression reminded her of Nonna, someone carrying too much alone. "Okay," she whispered. They rode the elevator in silence. Naomi watched the numbers climb, her heart hammering against her ribs. When the doors opened, Luca stepped out first and unlocked the suite door. He handed her the key card. "Keep this. The door locks automatically, but you can always get back in. Or out." The suite was bigger than her entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the city sparkling below. A bottle of expensive water sat on the counter next to fresh fruit. "Are you hungry?" Luca asked. Naomi realized she hadn't eaten since breakfast. "A little." He ordered room service without asking what she wanted. Soup, bread, fruit, simple things. When it arrived, he sat across from her at the small table. "You don't have to take care of me," Naomi said. "I know." He broke off a piece of bread. "Tell me about yourself." She found herself talking about Nonna Alma's stories of Italy, about paper cranes and heart medicine, about working 3 jobs and still coming up short. Luca listened like her words mattered. "What about you?" she asked. His hand tightened around his water glass. "I'm in business, import-export." Something in his tone told her not to push. They ate in comfortable quiet, the city lights painting patterns on the walls. When Luca stood and walked to the bedroom door, Naomi's chest tightened, but he just turned down the covers and grabbed a pillow. "I'll sleep on the couch," he said. "This is your room. It's your choice, remember?" Naomi looked at the bed, then at him. He was giving her the power to decide. When was the last time anyone had done that? "We could share," she said carefully. "Just sleep." Luca nodded. "Whatever you're comfortable with." They lay on opposite sides of the huge bed, both fully clothed. The silence stretched between them like a bridge neither was ready to cross. "Can I ask you something?" Naomi said to the ceiling. "Yes." "Why do you look so sad?" The question hung in the dark air. For a long moment, she thought he wouldn't answer. "I lost someone," he said finally. "Someone important. I'm sorry." "Me too." Naomi turned onto her side, studying his profile in the dim light from the window. "Talking helps sometimes." "Does it?" "With the right person." He turned to meet her eyes. In the soft darkness, he looked younger, more vulnerable. "Not tonight," he said. "But thank you." She nodded and closed her eyes. The bed was soft as clouds. For the first time in months, she felt safe. A loud crash woke her. Naomi sat up, heart pounding. The bedroom door was open, and voices came from the main room. "Told you I didn't want to be disturbed," Luca was saying. His voice was different now, hard as steel. "Come on, Moretti," a slurred voice replied. "Share the wealth. Your little whore can." The sound of a body hitting the wall cut off the words. Naomi crept to the doorway and peered out. Luca had a drunk man pinned against the wall by his throat. A bodyguard in an expensive suit stood nearby, looking nervous. "Apologize," Luca said quietly. The drunk man's face was turning red. "Sorry." "Not to me." Luca's eyes found Naomi in the doorway. "To her." "I'm sorry," the man gasped. Luca released him and stepped back. "Leave, both of you. If I see you again tonight, it won't go this well." The bodyguard grabbed the drunk man and hauled him toward the door. When they were gone, Luca turned to Naomi. "Are you okay?" She nodded, though her hands were shaking. She'd seen him transform from gentle to dangerous in seconds, but the danger wasn't aimed at her. "You didn't have to defend me," she said. "Yes, I did." The certainty in his voice made her chest tight. When was the last time someone had protected her instead of the other way around? "Come here," Luca said softly. She walked toward him slowly. He reached out and touched her shoulder, his thumb brushing over a small bruise from where she'd bumped the doorframe. "I won't let anyone hurt you," he said. Standing this close, she could see the exhaustion in his face, the weight he carried. Without thinking, she reached up and traced a small scar near his temple. "Someone hurt you once," she said. His eyes closed at her touch. "Yes, I'm sorry." When he opened his eyes, something had shifted between them. The air felt charged, electric. "Naomi," he said her name like a prayer. She rose on her toes and kissed him softly. He went still for a moment, then kissed her back with careful gentleness, like she was made of glass. When they broke apart, his forehead rested against hers. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Yes." This time, when they lay down together, there was no space between them. Luca held her like she was precious, like she mattered, and for the first time in years, Naomi felt like she was exactly where she belonged. Dawnlight crept through the windows. Naomi woke to find Luca already dressed, counting money at the desk. "You don't have to pay me," she said quietly. He turned, surprise flickering across his face. "We had an agreement." It changed. Luca studied her for a long moment, then walked over and sat on the edge of the bed. He handed her $500 bills and a business card. "Take it." "For your grandmother's medicine." Naomi looked at the money. "It would solve everything for now." "What's the card for?" "In case you need anything, or if anyone bothers you." She turned the plain black card over. "Just a phone number, no name." "Like who would bother me?" Luca's jaw tightened. "Davidson, for one. He's fired, by the way." "You can't—" "I own this hotel." The words hit her like cold water. She stared at him, really seeing him for the first time. The expensive clothes, the way he'd handled the drunk man like someone used to violence, the careful control in everything he did. "What kind of business are you in?" she asked. "The kind that protects what matters." It wasn't really an answer, but something in his tone warned her not to push. Naomi tucked the money into her pocket and stood. "I should go. Nonna will worry." Luca nodded and walked her to the door. When she reached for the handle, he caught her hand. "If anyone approaches you about last night, anyone at all, call that number immediately." "Why would—" "Promise me." The intensity in his voice scared her a little. "I promise." He squeezed her hand once, then let her go. Naomi walked to the elevator, feeling his eyes on her until the doors closed. The hotel lobby was quiet this early. Naomi pushed through the revolving doors and stepped onto the sidewalk. The morning air was crisp, making her pull her thin jacket tighter. She started walking toward the bus stop, mind spinning. $500. Nonna's medicine, Davidson fired. Luca's sad eyes and gentle hands. At the bus stop, she sat on the bench and pulled out the business card. Just a phone number. No name, no company. Who was Luca Moretti, really? A black sedan pulled up across the street and idled there. Naomi glanced at it, then looked away. Rich people had nice cars. Nothing strange about that. The bus was late. The sedan was still there. Naomi's chest started to tighten. She pulled out her phone and checked the time. The bus should have been here 10 minutes ago. The sedan's passenger window rolled down halfway. Naomi stood up quickly and started walking. Behind her, she heard the car's engine start. She walked faster, heart hammering. At the corner, she glanced back. The sedan was following her. With shaking fingers, she pulled out Luca's card and dialed the number. He answered on the first ring. "Naomi? There's a car following me," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Black sedan. License plate." She squinted. "I can't see it from here." "Where are you?" "Corner of 5th and Main, heading toward the subway." "Keep walking. Don't run. Tell me what you see around you." She described the coffee shop, the newsstand, the woman walking her dog. Her voice stayed calm even though her hands were shaking. "There's a motorcycle coming up behind you," Luca said. "That's Rafe. He's going to help you." "How did you—" A sleek black motorcycle pulled up beside her. The rider lifted his helmet visor, revealing dark eyes and a serious face. "You, Naomi?" he asked. She nodded. "I'm Rafe. Get on." "I don't—" "Luca's orders. That sedan's got 2 guys with guns." Naomi's blood went cold. She climbed onto the back of the motorcycle and wrapped her arms around Rafe's waist. He gunned the engine and they shot into traffic. As they sped away, she saw the black sedan trying to follow, blocked by a delivery truck. Her phone buzzed with a text from Luca. "Going to get your grandmother. You're both safe now." Naomi closed her eyes and held on tight. Safe. When was the last time she'd felt truly safe? But as the city blurred past, one question echoed in her mind. Safe from what? The motorcycle stopped in front of a tall townhouse, with ivy climbing the brick walls. Rafe helped Naomi off the bike, his eyes scanning the quiet street like he expected trouble. "This way," he said, leading her up stone steps to a heavy wooden door. The door opened before they reached it. A woman in her 50s stood there, grey hair pulled back in a neat bun. She wore a simple dress and had kind eyes that reminded Naomi of her grandmother. "You must be Naomi," the woman said. "I'm Mrs. Klein. Mr. Moretti asked me to prepare a room for you and your grandmother." "I don't understand," Naomi said. "Where's Luca? Where's my grandmother?" "Safe," Rafe said. "Luca's bringing her here. Come inside." The townhouse was beautiful but felt lived in. Warm wood floors, soft lighting, family photos on tables. Not what she'd expected from a man who owned hotels and had people following orders. Mrs. Klein led her to a comfortable living room. Tea? Please. Naomi's hands were still shaking from the motorcycle ride. As Mrs. Klein bustled away, Naomi noticed something strange. Down the hall, one door was closed while all the others stood open. Sunlight leaked under that closed door like it was trying to escape. Don't go in there, Rafe said quietly, following her gaze. Why not? Just don't. Before Naomi could ask more questions, the front door opened. Luca walked in supporting Nonna Alma, who looked pale but determined. Little bird! Alma's face lit up when she saw Naomi. Nonna! Naomi rushed over and hugged her grandmother carefully. Are you okay? What happened? This nice young man said there was danger, Alma said, patting Luca's arm like he was her own grandson. He brought a doctor to check my heart. A tall man in a white coat appeared behind them. Mrs. Benedetti is stable, he told Luca. I've adjusted her medications. She should rest. Mrs. Klein appeared with wheelchair. I've prepared the blue room on the first floor. No stairs. As they settled Nonna Alma in a sunny bedroom, the old woman squeezed Naomi's hand. He's a good one, this Luca, she whispered. Sad, but good. His eyes are like yours were after your parents died. Naomi glanced at Luca, who was quietly arranging pillows behind her grandmother's back. What had he lost that left such deep marks? When Alma was settled and dozing, Luca led Naomi to his study. Dark wood shelves lined the walls, filled with books in Italian and English. A desk sat by the window, papers neatly stacked. I owe you an explanation, Luca said, closing the door behind them. Yes, you do. Naomi crossed her arms. Who were those men? Why are we here? Luca walked to the window and looked out at the street. My business has complications. Sometimes people try to use innocent people to get to me. What kind of business? He turned to face her. The kind where I make sure certain things happen and other things don't. It's not legal work, Naomi. Her stomach dropped. You're talking about crime. Yes. The simple honesty hit her harder than lies would have. She sank into a leather chair, mind spinning. Are you dangerous? She asked. To people who threaten what I protect, yes. And to me? Luca knelt in front of her chair, bringing their eyes level. Never. I would die before I let anyone hurt you or your grandmother. The certainty in his voice sent shivers down her spine. Why? You barely know me. His jaw tightened. I know enough. That's not an answer. For a moment, his careful control slipped. She saw raw pain flash across his face before he locked it away. I had a family once, he said quietly. I couldn't protect them. I won't make that mistake again. What happened? Later, maybe. He stood and walked back to the window. Right now, you and your grandmother need to stay here until it's safe. For how long? I don't know. Naomi felt trapped between fear and frustration. I can't just live in your house. I have a job, bills, responsibilities. Davidson's gone. The hotel will pay you 3 months' salary as severance. Your grandmother's medical bills are covered. Your old apartment rent is paid through the end of your lease. She stared at him. You can't just fix my whole life. I can. I did. Without asking me. Luca turned from the window, and she saw something like surprise in his expression. You're angry. Of course I'm angry. You're making decisions about my life like I'm a child. I'm keeping you safe. By controlling everything I do? They stared at each other across the room. Finally, Luca's shoulders relaxed slightly. You're right, he said. I'm sorry. I'm not good at this. At what? Caring about someone without trying to lock them away from the world. The admission hung between them. Naomi felt her anger soften despite herself. I don't want to be locked away, she said. But I don't want Nonna hurt either. Then stay. Just until it's safe. I'll give you a key. You can leave any time. She studied his face. Behind the control, she saw exhaustion and something that looked like hope. Okay, she said. But I want to know what we're hiding from. I'll tell you everything. Tonight. That evening, Mrs. Klein served dinner in a dining room with tall windows and soft candlelight. Nonna Alma charmed everyone with stories of her childhood in Italy, her hands moving as she talked. And then the goat ate my sister's wedding dress. Alma laughed. Right off the clothesline. Even Rafe smiled at that one. Luca listened with quiet attention, asking questions about recipes and family traditions. Watching him with her grandmother, Naomi saw gentleness she hadn't expected. After dinner, Mrs. Klein helped Alma to her room. Luca led Naomi to a small sitting room with a fireplace and comfortable chairs. "Tell me," Naomi said, settling into a chair across from him. Luca stared into the fire for a long moment. 5 years ago, I was married. We had a son, Marco. He was 5 years old. Naomi's chest tightened at the past tense. There was a war between families, Luca continued. Business territory, old grudges. I thought I could keep my family separate from it. But you couldn't. No. His voice was barely a whisper. They put a bomb in my car. I was supposed to drive to a meeting that morning, but Marco had a fever. My wife, Elena, said she'd take the car to get medicine while I stayed home with him. Naomi's hand flew to her mouth. Oh, Luca, the bomb was meant for me. Instead, it killed them both. Tears burned her eyes. She wanted to reach for him, but something in his posture warned her away. The family responsible is mostly gone now, he said. But there's still one woman, Bianca Voss. She runs what's left of their operation. She believes in making people pay for old debts. And she knows about me. Yes, the men following you work for her. Naomi wrapped her arms around herself. Because I was with you that night. I'm sorry. I never should have. Don't. She stood up and walked to him. Don't apologize for the first good thing that's happened to me in years. Luca looked up at her with such raw pain that her heart cracked. I couldn't save them, he said. But I can save you. This time, she didn't ask permission. She knelt beside his chair and took his hands in hers. You're not responsible for what happened to your family. Aren't I? No. You're responsible for what you do now. They sat in silence, her hands warming his cold ones. Finally, Luca spoke again. There's something else you should see. He led her upstairs to the closed door she'd noticed earlier. With a deep breath, he turned the handle. Sunlight streamed through windows into a child's bedroom. A race car bed sat against one wall, toys arranged neatly on shelves. Everything was clean and perfect, like the child might return any moment. I haven't changed anything, Luca said. Mrs. Klein dusts, but otherwise. Naomi walked slowly around the room. She picked up a stuffed elephant from the bed, its fur soft from being loved. Marco's? She asked. His favorite. He called it Peanut. On the nightstand sat a lamp shaped like a rocket ship. Next to it, a framed photo showed a little boy with dark hair and Luca's eyes, laughing as he rode on someone's shoulders. He looks like you, Naomi said. He had his mother's smile. Naomi set down the elephant and turned to face him. Luca stood frozen in the doorway, like crossing the threshold might shatter something inside him. You loved them very much, she said. Too much, maybe. There's no such thing as loving too much. From her pocket, she pulled out a paper crane she'd folded during dinner from her napkin. She set it gently on the pillow next to the elephant. What's that for? Luca asked. Nonna taught me to fold them when I was sad. She said they carry wishes to heaven. Luca's eyes filled with tears he didn't let fall. What did you wish for? That Marco knows his daddy still loves him. This time, the tears did fall. Luca pressed his hand to his mouth, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Naomi went to him and wrapped her arms around his waist, holding him while 5 years of grief poured out. When the storm passed, he rested his forehead against hers. Thank you, he whispered. For what? For not being afraid of my broken pieces. The next morning, Naomi woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For a moment, she couldn't remember where she was. Then it came back the townhouse, Nonna safe downstairs, Luca's story about his lost family. She found him in the kitchen, making coffee and toast. He looked tired but more peaceful than she'd seen him. Good morning, he said, not quite meeting her eyes. Hi. She felt shy suddenly, remembering how he'd cried in her arms. Your grandmother's having breakfast with Mrs. Klein in the sunroom, he said. The doctor will check on her this afternoon. Thank you. They stood in awkward silence until Luca's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and frowned. What is it? Naomi asked. Rafe, there's been a development. Before he could explain, Rafe burst through the kitchen door. His usually calm expression was tight with worry. We've got a problem, he said. Check this out. He handed Luca his phone. Naomi saw a grainy photo on a gossip website, her and Luca getting into a car outside the hotel. The headline read, Mystery Woman, Mafia Prince's Secret Girlfriend. How did they get this? Luca's voice was deadly quiet. Someone sold it, Rafe said. Posted 2 hours ago. Already has 50,000 views. Naomi's stomach dropped. People know about me now. It gets worse, Rafe said. Look at the comments. Luca scrolled down and his face went white. She posted this. Who? Naomi asked. Luca turned the phone so she could see. A comment from user BVOSNYC showed a single eye emoji. Bianca was watching. "We need to move you," Luca said. "Both of you. Now." "Where?" "I have a place upstate." "No." Naomi's voice came out stronger than she felt. "I'm tired of running." "Naomi, she wants to use me to hurt you, right? So let's flip it. Let's use me to get to her." Rafe and Luca exchanged glances. "Absolutely not," Luca said. "Why not?" "Because I won't let you be bait for a killer." "What if I choose to be bait?" "No." His flat refusal sparked anger in her chest. "You said I could leave any time. You said it was my choice. Not this choice. Then you lied." The words hung in the air like a slap. Luca's jaw worked silently before he spoke. "I've lost everyone I care about," he said quietly. "I won't lose you too. And I won't live in a cage, no matter how beautiful it is." They stared at each other across the kitchen. Finally, Rafe cleared his throat. "Maybe there's a middle way," he said. "Something controlled, safe." "Like what?" Naomi asked. "We think about it. Plan it. You're not going in alone." Luca shook his head. "It's too dangerous." "Everything's dangerous now," Naomi pointed out. "At least this way, we're the ones making the moves instead of just reacting." Mrs. Klein appeared in the doorway. "Excuse me, but there's a delivery van that circled the block 3 times." Rafe was already moving toward the window. White van, tinted windows. "Yes. They've found us," Luca said. "Get Alma. We're leaving." "Wait." Naomi grabbed his arm. "What if this is exactly what Bianca wants? To keep us running and scared? Better scared than dead. Or we could stand and fight." Luca looked down at her hand on his arm, then back at her face. Something shifted in his expression. "You're not going to give up on this, are you?" he asked. "Would you, if it were your family?" For a long moment, he studied her face. Then he sighed. "Rafe, what did you have in mind?" 2 hours later, they sat around Luca's dining room table with maps spread between them. Nonna Alma dozed in her wheelchair nearby, unaware of the plans being made. "The harbor district," Rafe said, pointing to a section of the map. "Lots of people around during the day, but also lots of exit routes." "I don't like it," Luca said for the 10th time. "You don't have to like it," Naomi replied. "But I'm doing this." Mrs. Klein brought more coffee and squeezed Naomi's shoulder. "Your grandmother raised a brave girl, or a foolish one," Luca muttered. "Sometimes they're the same thing," Mrs. Klein said with a meaningful look at him. Rafe spread out photos of the harbor area. "Bianca likes to work through other people. She'll send someone to grab Naomi, then try to trade her." "For what?" Naomi asked. "Me," Luca said simply. "Dead." The word sent ice through her veins, but she kept her voice steady. "So we make sure that doesn't happen." "How?" Rafe tapped the map. "Pier 47. It's got good sightlines and multiple escape routes. We put teams here, here, and here." He pointed to different locations. "The moment anyone makes a move, we're on them." "And if something goes wrong?" Luca asked. "It won't," Naomi said with more confidence than she felt. Luca reached across the table and covered her hand with his. "If we do this, and I mean, if you follow every instruction exactly, no improvising, no heroics." "Agreed." "And if I say abort, we abort immediately." "Okay." He squeezed her hand. "I need you to understand something. These people don't play games. If they get their hands on you, they won't. Promise me that if things go bad, you'll run. Don't worry about me or anyone else. Just run." Naomi met his eyes steadily. "I promise to do whatever it takes to keep us both alive." It wasn't the promise he wanted, but it was the one she could give. Luca studied her face for a long moment, then nodded. "Tomorrow afternoon, Pier 47. As they finalized the details, Naomi felt a strange mix of terror and determination. Tomorrow, she would face the woman who wanted to destroy the man she was falling in love with. She just hoped they were all as ready as they thought they were. The next morning felt different. Naomi woke before dawn, her stomach tight with nerves. Today was the day they would try to end this. She found Luca in the kitchen, staring at a cup of coffee that had gone cold. He looked like he hadn't slept. "Second thoughts?" she asked, pouring herself tea. "Third and fourth thoughts." He looked up at her. "We don't have to do this. I can take you and Alma somewhere safe. Start over. Running isn't living. Living beats being dead." Naomi sat across from him at the small breakfast table. "Tell me about Marco. What was he like?" Luca's expression softened. Fearless. Always climbing things. always asking questions. He wanted to be a firefighter so he could save people. He sounds wonderful. He was. Luca's voice grew quiet. The day before it happened, he made me promise to teach him to ride a bike without training wheels. Did you? I never got the chance. Naomi reached across the table and took his hand. He would be proud of you for protecting me and Nonna. Would he? I'm about to put the woman I... Luca stopped, his cheeks flushing slightly. The woman you what? Their eyes met across the table. The woman I care about very much in terrible danger. Her heart skipped. I care about you too. Enough to reconsider this crazy plan. Enough to see it through so we can have a real future together. Before Luca could respond, Mrs. Klein appeared in the doorway. Sorry to interrupt, but your grandmother is awake and asking for you, she told Naomi. Naomi found Nonna Alma sitting by the window in her room, watching birds in the small garden. Come sit with me, little bird, Alma said, patting the chair beside her. Naomi settled next to her grandmother. How are you feeling? Old but stubborn, like always. Alma studied her face. You're scared about today. How did you... I may be old, but I'm not blind. There's trouble, and you're planning to face it. Naomi sighed. I have to, Nonna, to keep you safe, and to keep him safe too. It wasn't a question. Naomi nodded. Good, Alma said firmly. Love is worth fighting for. I didn't say I loved him. Alma smiled. You didn't have to. It's written all over your face. Same way it was written on his when he carried me out of our apartment yesterday. He was just being kind. Kindness is how love begins, child. But the way he looks at you, that's how love grows. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the birds. I'm scared, Naomi admitted. Of course you are. Brave doesn't mean not scared. It means scared but doing the right thing anyway. What if something goes wrong? Alma took her hand in both of hers. Then you remember that love is stronger than fear, and you remember that your old Nonna didn't raise a quitter. At noon, Rafe went over the plan one final time. Maps covered the dining room table, marked with red X's and arrows. You walk to the coffee stand at Pier 47 at exactly 2 o'clock, he told Naomi. Order a latte and sit at the outside table closest to the water. I'll be watching from here. Luca pointed to a building across the street. Rafe will be in the crowd near the entrance. What if no one comes? Naomi asked. They'll come, Luca said grimly. Bianca doesn't pass up opportunities like this. Mrs. Klein brought Naomi a small earpiece. This will let you hear us, and we can hear you. Don't touch it, or people will notice. Naomi nodded and slipped the tiny device into her ear. Luca's voice came through clearly as he tested it. Can you hear me? Yes. Remember, if anything feels wrong, anything at all, just say the word coffee, and we'll get you out immediately. I understand. At 1:30, they drove to the harbor in separate cars. Naomi rode with Rafe, her hands clenched in her lap. You okay? He asked, glancing at her in the rearview mirror. Just nervous. Good. Nervous keeps you alive. He parked a few blocks away and walked her to the pier entrance. See that building with the green awning? He pointed across the street. Luca's on the 3rd floor, window facing us. He won't take his eyes off you. That should have been comforting. But Naomi's stomach kept churning. She checked her phone. 1:55 p.m. Time to go, Rafe said. Remember, we're right here. Naomi walked onto the pier, trying to look casual. The harbor was busy with afternoon tourists and workers. Seagulls cried overhead, and the smell of salt water filled the air. The coffee stand sat at the end of the pier, painted bright blue with yellow umbrellas over small tables. Naomi ordered her latte and chose the table closest to the water, just as planned. I'm in position, she said quietly. We see you, came Luca's voice through the earpiece. Everything looks normal so far. Naomi sipped her coffee and pretended to watch the boats in the harbor. A family with young children played nearby. An elderly man fed seagulls from a bench. Everything seemed perfectly ordinary. 20 minutes passed, then 30. Maybe they're not coming, she said under her breath. Be patient, Luca replied. They'll want to watch you first. Make sure it's not a trap. At exactly 2:45, a woman in a business suit approached her table. Excuse me, are you Naomi Reed? The woman asked with a friendly smile. Yes. I'm Sarah from Harbor Medical Center. Your grandmother has been asking for you. She's had some sort of episode. Naomi's blood went cold. What? But she was fine when I left. The ambulance brought her in about an hour ago. She keeps saying your name. Panic shot through Naomi's chest. I need to see her. Of course. My car is right here. Naomi started to stand, then stopped. Something felt wrong. Harbor Medical was across town, but this woman had found her at the exact pier where she was supposed to be. How did you know where to find me? Naomi asked. The woman's smile flickered. Your boyfriend gave us this location. Luca gave you this address? Yes. He's very worried about you both. Through the earpiece she heard Luca's sharp voice. That's not one of ours. It's a trap. The woman was still smiling, but her eyes had gone hard. We really should hurry. Coffee, Naomi said clearly. I really need more coffee first. The woman's hand moved to her purse. I'm afraid there isn't time. Get down, Rafe's voice shouted. Two men appeared from behind the coffee stand, moving fast toward Naomi's table. She dove to the ground just as Rafe tackled one of them. The woman in the suit was no longer pretending to be friendly. She had a phone in her hand and was speaking rapidly into it. Phase 2, she was saying. The harbor location. Bring the old woman. Naomi's heart stopped. They have Nonna? Through her earpiece, she heard Luca swear. The house. They hit the house while we were here. Chaos erupted around the pier. Tourists screamed and ran as more men appeared. Rafe was fighting with two of them now, but there were too many. A hand grabbed Naomi's arm and yanked her up. You're coming with us. She twisted away and ran toward the crowd of fleeing people. Behind her, she heard footsteps pounding. Luca, she called out. I'm coming. Get to the street. Naomi pushed through the panicking crowd, her heart hammering. She could see the pier entrance ahead when someone caught her arm again. This time, the grip was too strong to break. A man in dark clothes spun her around, and she saw something silver in his other hand. Scream and I'll use this, he said quietly. The knife pressed against her ribs through her jacket. Naomi forced herself to stay calm. What do you want? You're going to call your boyfriend and tell him to meet us. Alone. And if I don't? The man smiled coldly. Then your grandmother dies. They put her in the back of a black van with tinted windows. The woman from the coffee stand sat across from her, no longer pretending to be nice. I'm Bianca Voss, she said casually, like they were meeting at a party. Naomi had expected someone harder looking. Bianca was pretty in a sharp way, with blonde hair and expensive clothes. She looked like she belonged in a boardroom, not ordering kidnappings. Where's my grandmother? Naomi demanded. Safe, for now. Bianca examined her manicured nails. That depends entirely on how cooperative you are. What do you want? Luca Moretti. Dead. The flat way she said it made Naomi's blood freeze. Why? He killed my brother. I'm sorry for your loss, but are you? Bianca's eyes went cold as winter. Because your boyfriend didn't just kill him. He tortured him first, made him suffer for hours before putting a bullet in his head. Naomi's stomach lurched. She couldn't imagine gentle, grieving Luca doing something like that. I don't believe you. Believe what you want. It doesn't change what happened. Bianca leaned forward. Did he tell you about his precious family, his wife and son? He told me they died in a car bomb. What he didn't tell you is that my brother had nothing to do with that bomb. It was a different family entirely. But Luca didn't care about facts when he was drowning in grief and rage. The van turned a corner, and Naomi had to grab the seat to keep from sliding. You're saying he killed an innocent man. I'm saying he killed my innocent brother, and now he's going to pay for it. Naomi's head spun. Could it be true? Had Luca lied to her about everything? I can see you're having doubts, Bianca said with satisfaction. Good, you should. Even if that's true, revenge won't bring your brother back. No, but it will make me feel better. The van stopped. Through the windows, Naomi could see they were at the harbor, but a different part than where she'd been captured. Old warehouses lined the water, most of them looking abandoned. Out, one of the men said, opening the van door. They walked her into a warehouse that smelled like rust and old fish. In the middle of the empty space sat two chairs. Nonna Alma was tied to one of them, her head hanging down. Nonna, Naomi tried to run to her, but strong hands held her back. Alma lifted her head slowly. She looked pale and scared, but alive. Little bird, she said weakly. I'm sorry. They said they'd hurt you if I didn't come quietly. It's okay, Nonna. We're going to be fine. Bianca laughed. How touching. Family reunions make me emotional. She pulled out a phone and dialed. Put me through to Luca Moretti. After a moment, she held the phone toward Naomi. Tell him where you are. Tell him to come alone, or Grandma takes a swim in the harbor. Through the phone, Naomi heard Luca's voice, tight with worry. Naomi, Are you hurt? I'm okay. We're both okay. Where are you? Bianca held up a piece of paper with an address written on it. Warehouse 47, South Harbor District. Naomi read. Luca, don't. Bianca pulled the phone away. 1 hour, Moretti. Come alone, or they both die. She hung up and smiled at Naomi. Now we wait. They tied Naomi to the chair next to her grandmother. The rope was tight around her wrists, but not so tight that it cut off circulation. These people were professionals. Are you hurt? Naomi whispered to Alma. Just scared, Alma whispered back. They grabbed me when I was in the garden. Mrs. Klein tried to stop them. Is she okay? I think so. They just pushed her down. At least that was something. Naomi tested the ropes around her wrists. No give at all. Bianca paced back and forth in front of them, checking her watch every few minutes. Her men stood guard at the doors and windows. Tell me about him, Bianca said suddenly. This man you think you love. I don't have to tell you anything. No, but you might learn something interesting. Naomi stayed silent. 5 years ago, Luca Moretti was a different man, Bianca continued. Happily married, devoted father. He ran numbers and loan operations, but nothing violent, almost respectable. Despite herself, Naomi found herself listening. Then his family died. The bomb was meant for someone else entirely, a rival family's war that had nothing to do with us. But Luca was insane with grief. He needed someone to blame. So he chose your brother. My brother made the mistake of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Someone told Luca that Marco had been seen near his house the week before the bombing. It was a lie, but Luca didn't bother checking. Naomi's heart sank. What did he do? He took my brother from his apartment one night, tortured him for 3 days trying to get him to confess. When Marco swore he knew nothing about any bomb, Luca didn't believe him. Stop, Naomi said. The coroner said some of the injuries were made while Marco was still alive. My baby brother died slowly, in agony, begging for his life. I said stop, but Bianca wasn't finished. And when Luca finally put him out of his misery, he dumped the body where I would find it, with a note saying, "Justice for Elena and little Marco." Tears burned Naomi's eyes. She couldn't reconcile this story with the gentle man who had held her, who had cried over his son's memory. You don't want to believe it, Bianca said. I understand. It's hard to accept that someone you care about is capable of such cruelty. Even if it's true, Naomi said through gritted teeth, killing him won't bring your brother back. No, but it will balance the scales. A phone rang somewhere in the warehouse. One of Bianca's men answered it and spoke in low, urgent tones. Boss, he called out. We've got movement. 3 blocks out. Bianca smiled. Right on time. She walked over to Naomi and knelt down so they were eye to eye. Here's what's going to happen, she said quietly. Luca is going to walk through that door thinking he's going to save you. Instead, he's going to watch you and your grandmother die first. Then, he's going to join you. You're sick. I'm thorough. Footsteps echoed outside the warehouse. Bianca stood and smoothed down her skirt. Showtime, she said. The warehouse door opened slowly. Luca stepped inside, hands visible and empty. His eyes found Naomi immediately, scanning her for injuries. I'm here, he called out. Let them go. Not quite yet, Bianca replied. We have some things to discuss first. Luca's gaze moved to Bianca, and his entire body went rigid. You. Hello, Luca. It's been a long time. Not long enough. I disagree. I think 5 years was exactly the right amount of time, long enough for you to find something new to love, something I can take away from you. Luca took a step forward, and immediately 3 guns trained on him. Let them go, he said again. Your fight is with me. True, but where's the poetry in that? You took away the person I loved most. Now I return the favor. Your brother's death was what? Justice. He was innocent, and you knew it. Something flickered in Luca's eyes. Doubt? Regret? He confessed, Luca said, but his voice lacked conviction. He confessed because you were torturing him. He would have said anything to make it stop. The warehouse fell silent except for the sound of water lapping against the docks outside. You know I'm right, Bianca continued. Deep down, you've always known. That's why you kept his confession letter, isn't it? Why you read it over and over, looking for proof that wasn't there. Luca's face went white. How do you... Because I know you, Luca. I know guilt when I see it. You've been carrying the weight of what you did for 5 years. Naomi watched the exchange, her heart breaking. The pain in Luca's eyes told her everything she needed to know. Bianca was telling the truth. "So, what happens now?" Luca asked, his voice hollow. "Now you get to watch them die, knowing it's your fault?" Again. "No." Luca stepped forward despite the guns. "Take me. Let them live, and I won't fight you." How noble. But no. Bianca nodded to one of her men. He walked over to Alma and pressed a gun to her temple. "Start with the old woman," Bianca ordered. "Make him watch." "Wait," Naomi shouted. "Wait, please." Everyone turned to look at her. "If you kill us, he dies too," she said desperately. "But if you let us go, he has to live with the guilt forever. Isn't that worse than a quick death?" Bianca considered this. Interesting point. Make him suffer every day for the rest of his life, knowing that his mistakes cost people their lives. Death would be mercy. "Little bird, what are you doing?" Alma whispered. Naomi ignored her grandmother and kept talking to Bianca. "He'll never escape what he did. It will eat him alive from the inside. Isn't that better revenge than just killing him?" For a moment, hope flickered in Luca's eyes. Then Bianca smiled coldly. "Nice try. But I prefer the certainty of death to the possibility of redemption." She raised her hand to give the signal. That's when all hell broke loose. The warehouse windows exploded inward as dark shapes swung through on ropes. Smoke grenades hit the floor, filling the space with thick gray clouds. "Get down!" someone shouted. Gunfire erupted. Naomi threw herself sideways, chair and all, pulling Alma down with her. Through the smoke and chaos, she heard Luca yelling her name. Strong hands grabbed her shoulders. "Hold still," Rafe's voice said in her ear as he cut the ropes. "Alma," Naomi gasped. "Already got her. Luca's orders you two first, everything else second." The smoke was clearing. Bodies lay still on the warehouse floor, but Bianca was nowhere to be seen. Luca appeared through the haze, blood on his shirt but alive. He dropped to his knees beside Naomi and pulled her into his arms. "Are you hurt?" he asked urgently, his hands running over her arms and face. "I'm okay. We're both okay." "Good. That's good." But something was wrong. His voice was too calm, too controlled. "Luca." He pulled back and looked at her with eyes full of pain. She was right. About what? About everything. Before Naomi could respond, Rafe appeared beside them. "We need to go," he said urgently. "Police will be here in minutes." "Where's Bianca?" Luca asked. "Gone. Slipped out during the chaos." Luca's jaw tightened, but he nodded. They helped Alma to her feet. She was shaky but unharmed and headed for the exit. But as they reached the door, Naomi heard a sound that made her blood freeze. Slow clapping. They turned to see Bianca step out from behind a shipping container, gun in hand. "Very impressive," she said, "but not quite good enough." The gun was pointed straight at Luca's chest. "You can't run from the truth forever," she said, "and you can't protect everyone you love." Her finger moved to the trigger. "No!" Naomi threw herself in front of Luca just as the gun fired. The bullet hit her in the shoulder, spinning her around. She crashed to the ground, pain exploding through her body. "Naomi!" Luca's scream echoed through the warehouse. The last thing she saw before darkness took her was Luca launching himself at Bianca. Rage, transforming his face into something terrible and primitive. Then everything went black. Naomi woke to the steady beeping of machines and the smell of antiseptic. Her shoulder felt like it was on fire, but she was alive. "Easy," a gentle voice said. "Don't try to move too much." She turned her head slowly and saw Mrs. Klein sitting in a chair beside the hospital bed, knitting something soft and yellow. "Where?" Naomi's throat felt like sandpaper. "Private hospital. You've been out for 2 days." Mrs. Klein set down her knitting and reached for a cup of water with a straw. Small sips. The water was the most beautiful thing Naomi had ever tasted. When she could speak again, she asked the question that made her chest tight with fear. "Luca?" Mrs. Klein's expression grew careful. "He's alive. Where is he?" "Dealing with the aftermath. The police, the cleanup, making sure there are no more threats." That wasn't really an answer. "Is he hurt?" "Not physically." Before Naomi could ask what that meant, the door opened. Nonna Alma shuffled in with a walker, her face lighting up when she saw Naomi awake. "Little bird, you scared us all to death. Nonna, you should be resting." "Bah, I'm fine. Old bones heal faster than young hearts sometimes." Alma settled into the other chair with Mrs. Klein's help. "How do you feel?" "Like I got shot," Naomi tried to smile. "But better now that I see you're okay. Thanks to you and that stubborn man of yours." "Where is he?" Naomi asked again. Alma and Mrs. Klein exchanged glances. He's been here every night, Alma said carefully, sleeping in that chair when the nurses let him. But during the days he's been handling business, Mrs. Klein finished, making sure Bianca Voss never threatens anyone again. A chill ran down Naomi's spine. What does that mean? It means she's gone, Mrs. Klein said simply. Permanently. The machines around Naomi's bed seemed to beep faster. He killed her. He protected his family. That's not the same thing. Mrs. Klein's knitting needles clicked steadily. Sometimes it is. That evening, Naomi was pretending to watch TV when the door opened quietly. Luca slipped inside, moving like he was afraid she might disappear. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, clothes wrinkled, a healing cut on his cheek, but alive, whole. "Hi," he said softly. "Hi." They stared at each other across the room. Finally, Luca moved closer to the bed. "How are you feeling?" "Like I got shot protecting someone I love." He flinched at the word love. "You shouldn't have done that." "Which part? Getting shot or loving you?" "Both." The quiet pain in his voice made her chest ache. "Luca, sit down, please." He perched on the edge of the chair like he might need to run at any moment. "Mrs. Klein says Bianca is gone," Naomi said carefully. "Yes." "Did you kill her?" Luca met her eyes steadily. "Yes." The simple honesty hit her like a physical blow. She'd expected denials, justifications. Not this quiet admission. "Why?" "Because she shot you. Because she threatened your grandmother. Because as long as she was alive, you would never be safe. And because you wanted revenge for what she did to you." Luca's jaw tightened. "That too. Tell me what happened." "After I passed out, for a long moment, he was quiet. When he spoke, his voice was flat, emotionless. I killed her men first, quick, clean. They were just following orders. But her..." He stopped, his hands clenching into fists. "I made sure she suffered. The way she made her brother suffer." Naomi's stomach dropped. "Luca, you want to know what kind of man you fell in love with? Now you do. I'm someone who tortures people to death when they hurt what's mine. That's not who you are, isn't it?" He stood up and walked to the window. "Bianca was right about everything. I killed her brother in cold blood. An innocent man. You were grieving. That's not an excuse." He turned back to face her. "There is no excuse for what I did, and there's no excuse for what I just did to her. You protected us. I enjoyed it." The words came out like a confession. When she was dying, when she was begging me to stop, part of me enjoyed it. Tears burned Naomi's eyes. Not for Bianca, but for the man standing across from her, drowning in self-hatred. "You're not a monster," she said. "How can you say that? You know what I've done. I know you held me when I cried. I know you carried my grandmother to safety. I know you risked everything to save us. And I know I murdered 2 people in the last 5 years. Yes, you did." The admission hung between them. "But that's not all you are." Luca stared at her like she'd spoken a foreign language. "I'm not going to pretend what you did was right," Naomi continued. "Killing Bianca's brother was wrong. Killing her was complicated. But people are more than their worst moments. Some people are. All people are." She pushed herself up straighter in the bed, ignoring the pain in her shoulder. "Do you remember what you told me about Marco? About how he wanted to save people?" Luca's face crumpled slightly at his son's name. He would want his father to save people too, not hurt them. "It's too late for that." "No, it's not. You saved me and Nonna. That matters. It doesn't erase what I did. Nothing can erase it, but you can choose what you do next." Luca sank back into the chair, his head in his hands. "I don't know how to be anything else. Violence is all I've known for 5 years. Then learn something new. What if I can't?" Naomi reached out with her good arm and touched his hand. "Then I'll help you." He looked up at her with such raw hope and fear that her heart broke. "Why?" he whispered. "After everything I've told you, why would you want to?" "Because I love you. The whole you. Even the broken parts. I could hurt you. You could, but you won't." "How do you know?" "Because you're choosing to tell me the truth instead of lying to protect yourself. Because you're more afraid of hurting me than you are of losing me." Luca stared at their joined hands. "I don't deserve you. That's not up to you. It's up to me. And I choose you." For a long time, they sat in silence. Finally, Luca spoke. "What happens now?" "Now you decide what kind of man you want to be going forward. And if I choose wrong?" Then I'll help you choose again. 1 week later, they brought Naomi home to the townhouse. Her arm was in a sling, but the doctors said she would heal completely. Luca carried her bags upstairs to the guest room she'd been using. You know, she said, sitting on the edge of the bed, I could stay in your room, if you want. He set down her bags carefully. Are you sure? After everything? I'm sure. That night, they lay in his bed facing each other in the dark. Luca's hand rested on the pillow between them, not quite touching her. I've been thinking, he said quietly. About what? About getting out. Of the business, I mean. Naomi's heart jumped. Really? Rafe thinks we could go legitimate. Security consulting, maybe. Use our skills legally. What do you think? I think Marco would like the idea of his father helping people instead of hurting them. I think so too. They were quiet for a moment. Then Luca spoke again. There's something else. The house. I want to put it in your name. Yours and Alma's. Luca, no. Not because I'm planning to leave, he said quickly. Because I want you to know you're safe here. That you belong here. That this is your home. Not just my house you're staying in. Tears pricked her eyes. Are you asking me to move in with you? I'm asking you to build a life with me. If you want to. What about Nonna? She's part of the package. I wouldn't have it any other way. Naomi reached across the space between them and touched his cheek. Yes, 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 I want to build a life with you. Luca's smile was brighter than the moon outside the window. He leaned forward and kissed her softly. I love you, he whispered against her lips. I love you too, even though I'm broken, especially because you're broken. Broken things can be fixed. Perfect things can only break. 6 weeks later, Naomi stood in the doorway of Marco's room. It looked different now. Still a child's room, but not a shrine. The toys were neatly arranged, the bed made, but sunlight streamed through open curtains. You ready? Luca asked behind her. She turned to see him holding a cardboard box. Inside were some of Marco's clothes, the ones that would fit the children at the local shelter. Are you? She asked. Luca looked into the room one more time. Yeah, I think I am. They spent the afternoon carefully packing things to donate. Not everything. Luca kept the stuffed elephant, some photos, and a few special toys, but enough to help other children who needed warm clothes and comfort. As they worked, Nonna Alma supervised from her wheelchair in the hallway, telling them stories about children she'd known in Italy. You know, she said as Luca folded a small sweater, in my village, we believed children who died young became angels who watched over their families. Do you really believe that? Luca asked. I believe love doesn't die. It just changes form. When they finished, the room felt different, still loved, but no longer frozen in time. That evening, Mrs. Klein made a special dinner to celebrate Rafe's news he'd found investors for their new security company. Moretti Reed Security Solutions, he announced over dessert. Reed? Naomi blinked in surprise. Your name goes on it too, Luca said. This is our future we're building. But I don't know anything about security. You know about people, about reading situations, about staying calm under pressure. Luca reached over and squeezed her hand. I can teach you the technical stuff. After dinner, they all sat in the living room. Alma dozed in her chair while Mrs. Klein knitted, and Rafe went over business plans. It felt like family. I should probably head home, Rafe said eventually. Stay, Luca said. There's plenty of room. Thanks, but I've got a date. Everyone stared at him in surprise. Rafe never talked about his personal life. A date? Mrs. Klein looked delighted. With whom? Her name's Maria. She's a teacher. Rafe actually blushed. I met her at the coffee shop near the office. Is it serious? Naomi asked, grinning. Early days, Rafe said, but he was smiling too. But, maybe. After he left, Mrs. Klein helped Alma to bed. Luca and Naomi walked out to the garden behind the house. Penny for your thoughts, Naomi said, settling beside him on the bench under the apple tree. Just thinking about how different everything is. Good different or bad different? Good. He pulled her closer with his arm around her shoulders. 6 months ago, I was just existing, going through the motions. Now I have a reason to be better. They sat in comfortable silence, watching stars appear in the darkening sky. Luca, do you think Marco would like me? The question had been weighing on her heart for weeks. Luca turned to look at her. Are you kidding? He would have loved you. You make paper cranes, you take care of your grandmother, and you're brave enough to love his difficult father. You're not that difficult. I'm a work in progress. We all are. Luca stood up and held out his hand. Come on, I want to show you something. He led her back into the house and up to Marco's room. On the nightstand, next to the rocket ship lamp, sat the paper crane she'd folded weeks ago. But it wasn't alone anymore. Dozens of small paper cranes in different colors covered the dresser, the bookshelf, the windowsill. Some were folded from newspaper, some from magazine pages, some from plain white paper. Where did all these come from? Naomi asked in wonder. Mrs. Klein has been making them, and Rafe. Even Alma folded a few. Luca picked up a small blue crane. This one's mine. You've been making paper cranes. You said they carry wishes to heaven. I figured Marco could use some company up there. Tears blurred her vision. What did you wish for? The same thing every time. That somehow he knows his father found his way back to being good. Naomi stood on her toes and kissed him softly. He knows. How can you be sure? She gestured to the room full of cranes, to the love that had transformed a shrine into a celebration. Because look what you've built. Look at the family we've become. Love like this doesn't happen by accident. Luca held her close, careful of her healing shoulder. I used to think I didn't deserve a second chance. And now? Now I think maybe second chances aren't about deserving. Maybe they're about what you do with them when they come. What are we going to do with ours? Live, Luca said simply. Love. Build something beautiful. Outside the window, the city sparkled with a million lights. Each one represented a life, a story, a chance for love to triumph over fear. I have one more thing to show you, Luca said. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket and dropped to one knee beside Marco's bed. Naomi Reed, he said, his voice shaking slightly. You saved my life in more ways than one. You taught me that broken things can heal, that love is stronger than grief, and that sometimes the best families are the ones we choose. He opened the box to reveal a simple, elegant ring. Will you marry me? Will you help me build a future worth having? Through her tears, Naomi could barely see his face, but she didn't need to see to know her answer. Yes, she whispered. Yes, yes, yes. As Luca slipped the ring onto her finger, a gentle breeze stirred the paper cranes around the room. They fluttered like colorful butterflies, carrying wishes and dreams up toward the stars. And somewhere, Naomi was certain, a little boy smiled and sent his blessing down to the father who had finally learned to hope again. Epilogue. 1 year later. The wedding was small and perfect. They held it in the garden behind the townhouse, with white flowers and string lights, creating magic in the early evening air. Nonna Alma, radiant in purple silk, walked Naomi down the aisle. Mrs. Klein served as matron of honor, while Rafe stood as Luca's best man, with Maria beaming at his side. When the minister asked if there were any objections, a soft breeze stirred the apple tree above them, sending petals floating down like snow. Naomi felt it like a blessing from angels. I do, Luca said, his voice strong and sure when the moment came. I do, Naomi replied, and meant it with her whole heart. Their first dance was to an old Italian song that Alma hummed along to from her chair. As they swayed together under the stars, Luca whispered in her ear, Thank you. For what? For seeing the man I could become instead of the man I was. Thank you for becoming him. Later, after the guests had gone home and Alma was settled in bed, Luca and Naomi climbed the stairs together. At the top, they paused outside Marco's room. The door was open, and moonlight spilled across hundreds of paper cranes that now filled the space. They hung from the ceiling on invisible threads, creating a forest of hopes and dreams. It's beautiful, Naomi breathed. Mrs. Klein's been teaching the kids at the shelter how to make them. They wanted to contribute to the wedding. Each crane carried a wish from a child who had found safety and love through their new security company's charitable work. Wishes for families to heal, for people to be kind, for the world to be a little brighter. I love you, Mrs. Moretti, Luca said, wrapping his arms around his wife. I love you too, Mr. Moretti. As they stood there, surrounded by 1,000 paper prayers, Naomi thought about the journey that had brought them here, the fear, the pain, the choices that had led to this moment of perfect peace. Love, she realized, wasn't about finding someone perfect. It was about finding someone worth growing with, someone worth fighting for, someone worth becoming better for. And as they walked hand in hand toward their bedroom, toward their future, the paper cranes danced in the gentle breeze, carrying their story up to the stars where angels smiled and sent their blessings down to earth. In the end, love had won. And sometimes, that was miracle enough.